I am Daniel Adam Fink, the Torah teacher. Torah is the Bible and related traditions. I'm going to be showing you evidence of every name in Yakëtan, the Kahtanites of Yemen. Here we have the two biblical sources of Yakëtan. They have one difference, a typo. This is important because typos happen in the Bible. There are many instances. So I'm going to read both of them. Genesis 10 verses 26 through 30 and Chronicles 1, 20 through 23. I'm going to read just Genesis 10 and point out the error in Chronicles. Genesis 10, and Yakëtan begot Almarad and Shalef and Chazar Mawet and Yerach and Hadoram and Ozal and Jaklah and Ubal and Abiamael and Sheba and Ophir and Hawilah and Yobab. All these were the sons of Yakëtan. And their dwelling was from Meshah as thou goest toward Saphar unto the mountain of the east. Chronicles has Abal instead of Ubal simply because my ancient cousin wrote a Yud instead of a Waw, and that changes everything. And if you don't notice the difference, you'll be searching for Abal, which never existed. Here we have the complete map. Over the next few slides, I'm going to show you 1 through 13 and the boundaries, so you can get an idea of their organization as they are listed in the Bible and as they are physically located in Yemen. First, in the red, the kingdom, now a province of Al-Murad. Orange, the province of Shalef. Yellow, the province of Chazar Mawet. Green, the province of Yerach. Blue, the province of Hadoram. Here's where something amazing happens. The next 5 names are cities in these provinces circling exactly back as they came. Ozal, known as the city of Sana'a, capital today, chief city of Hadoram. The city of Zaklah, chief city of Yerach. Ubal, the chief city of the province, Chazar Mawet. Abi Am El, the chief city of Shalef province. Sheba, this is biblical Sheba, the province called today as Sabah. This is because the letter Shin was pronounced like Sanskrit. Between sh and s is a sh, like Sri Lanka sound. Sheba, capital of Al-Murad, the first name, the first tribe of Yemen, and the first capital city, city of Marib. Ophir, this is the city, the province, and the gold source, Ophir. Ophira, the legendary source of the gold of the Queen of Sheba. Here we have vast Hawilah, and you are going to love the explanation of Hawilah coming at the end of this presentation. Yobar, home of the Yobaratai and the legendary lost city Ubar. The western boundary of Yakëtan in the Bible is Meshah, known as Muka, Mocha. That is the coffee source, where the coffee trade in human history began, where we get the name Mocha. And here we have the eastern boundary, the mountain range on the east, Saphar. Saphar and Yobar was the cornerstone of frankincense trade in the entire Bronze Age, Iron Age, Classical Era world. The trade in coffee, frankincense, and other goods started here in Yakëtan, Yemen. Now that we are excited, we have seen the names go 1 through 5 around the horn, then 6 through 10 back again, 11, 12, 13 across the perimeter. We are looking for evidence to prove that this is indeed accurate. The only way you can solve any logic puzzle in geography is to start with your known givens. The givens: Yakëtan has been known as Kahtanites of Yemen. Mesha has been known as Mocha, the port where coffee name originates, and Safar on the eastern border. So we go from the Red Sea to the ends of the world of the Kahthanite trade. Safar has been known as the Zafar mountain range. Beyond there is vast desert. Khadar Mawet has been known as Hadramaut. Azal has been known as Sana'a, the modern capital of Yemen, and Sheba has been known as Marib, the first capital of Yemen, biblical Sheba. So here we have 5 locations only within Yakëtan, leaving 10 remaining. And that sounds small because it's only 1/3. But knowing the locations of number 3, 6, and 10, we then research to find the other numbers and to reveal the precise order, how it made sense to my ancient Hebrew cousins, and how it makes sense today in the most amazing way. We have more clues before we begin. These are a set of maps of Yemen. I always try to show multiple items of evidence because I don't want it to be perceived that I'm cherry picking the very best. That's a phenomenon called lying with maps. I'm declaring that it exists and that I'm not doing it, so that way you can judge whether or not that's true. By this point, you either are expecting that I am correct and seeing it play out, or you are playing devil's advocate and proving that I'm wrong, unless you can no longer prove that I'm wrong. Now let's proceed. Names 1 and 10. This is where the entire map begins and where the link is at its strongest. So we have number 1, Al-Murad. It's already been declared and understood, as stated in McClintock and Strong's Biblical Cyclopedia, an invaluable and unbelievably excellent resource in Bible research. I would never have found every single name in all of Genesis and the entire complete accurate Exodus route without this excellent resource. So, Sheba is Marib. There was a span where people were attempting to prove that Sheba was in Ethiopia. Meanwhile, they were ignoring the fact that the most named and most prominent city in all of Yemen is being excluded in the process. People no longer try to prove this fallacy, this error, which was based on a mistranslation in the classical era. It has been disproven and debunked for years. Now, we have Marib, the biblical city of Sheba. Directly next to it, Jabal Morad on Google Maps. On the bottom left, we have Marib tribes as listed on the internet, and you can see within Marib, which is named for the city, the province of Jabal Morad. Here's where we get to the phenomenon. Sources of error. Why have these errors been made or these realizations not been perceived for all these years? Well, they were partly perceived. They needed to be all put together. Al-Murad and Al-Modad is the difference between the first founding most prominent tribe named directly in multiple ways on the map at the dead center of the place where all of Kahtanites culture began, and El Modad, which does not have a meaning. So, and Yakëtan begot Al-Murad, and Shalef, and Chazar, Mawet, and Yerach, and Hazoram, and Azal, and Zechariah, and Ubal. In the book of Chronicles, the very first chapter, Ubal has a yud where a waw or vav should be. When you pronounce ayin yud, you're looking for something like Abal, because Ebal would be spelled in a different way. Ubal is extraordinarily important. It's the name of a local god and a place of worship from ancient Yemen, and Abal has no meaning. Let's go to the second pair. This is also in Genesis 10, as is the third directly afterward, and in 1 Chronicles. Genesis 10:3, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphat and Togarmah. In Chronicles, it's Ashkenaz and Diphat and Togarmah. So you end up with this noise and these pursuits in no direction looking for Diphat, which does not exist. Likewise, we have in Genesis 10, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. Whereas in Chronicles, it's Rodanim. Who are the Rodanim? The people of Rhodes. So who are the Dodanim? The Dodecanese. Where's Dodecanese? It's near Rhodes. Okay, where is Rhodes? Where are the Rodanim from? That's the place where the Aegean Sea meets Anatolia. See, you would never call it Dodanim. It would be the Rodanim. The Dodecanese Islands may be really nice to visit, but an entire people will be named the Rodanim. Riphat is one of the keys to the entire Bible. It's arguably the best of all of the thousands of names, which we will get to in another presentation. So as you see, there are dozens of these errors where you just take on the bottom right Resh and Dalet. How does a Resh become a Dalet? Well, your hand goes too far, a little tiny bit. How far? A millimeter, two? Little bit. What about a Waw or a Yod? Depends on how long you brought the stem down. And that is the source of many of these errors, which we are clearing up in our time. From here, each map is going to look quite busy because there's so much evidence compiled. Picking which evidence to show and which not to is like proving that a tree is a plant. It's easy to do, but difficult to begin and end. So, we have the Murad tribe. And I'm not going to read all of this to you. I invite you to pause and look. The Murad tribe is an extreme founding tribe in the entire history of Yakëtan, and at the dead center, the place where Yemen was founded. This particular culture, Yakëtan. The previous slide was an explanation by McClintock and Strong, who have something called McClintock and Strong's Biblical Cyclopedia, which I suggest you look at often for the rest of your life because it is an amazing resource. Now we have Wikipedia for a reason. I want to see whether or not you judge the fact that I'm using Wikipedia for what it means, common knowledge. Anything that's not common knowledge, I would not show the Wikipedia article. At this point, this is important that it's common knowledge because it shows just how obvious Hadoram has been. So on the right, we have a suggestion that a fortress south of Sana'a from Keset HaSofer is Hadoram. But we have something even better. Hador is the name of the mountain. Ram is high, height. So on the left we have the highest mountain in all of Arabia. As you can see, it says in the article, it is one of the most prominent peaks in the world and the third most prominent peak in the Middle East, the highest peak in Arabia. That's Hadoram. So when you are looking for the fifth province, knowing that Khazar Mawet is Hadramaut, that's always been known. Showing where Hadoram is the mountains. It's the backbone of Yakëtan. It's Yemen. That's where Hadoram is. That's the Jebel Hador. So we have a definition of Khadar Mawet as a defined province, as it has been, a defined landform, and the landform and associated province of Hadoram. So we're getting not only the strongest evidence, but you have to admit it's the most enjoyable. Knowing exactly what Hadoram is and Jebel Hador is an overwhelming understanding of Yakëtan. Moving forward with the associated Zakla and Yerach. So I know this is a long presentation. There's nothing we can do about it. It's a very complicated part of Genesis. The Dulkala, as suggested in many sources, we're going to be looking at Ptolemy, McClintock and Strong's Biblical Encyclopedia, all of the greatest and most reputable sources for classical era knowledge, because classical era is when these versions, these scrolls of Torah were written down. So we have Zakla, known as the Jokala tribe, who were in the Himyar area, and we have Yerach, which is like Jericho is Yeracho. This is Yerach. Yerach was an ancient moon god. Yemen is a land of moon gods, as we're going to show. So the Zakla people and a fortress, a mountain, you're going to see a lot of the same things. The god, the place of worship, the city of worship, the moon god, the tribal name, and these are going to be what identify Yemen. And so now we have the pair, Al-Murad and Shabah. We have Yerach and Zakla. At that point, we have the city of Hadoram. So now we're looking for very few more places. And it's overwhelming because you go from a field of doubt to we're just 6 names away from the entirety of Yemen. Here's where history repeats. Was the moon god worshipped in ancient Kataban. That is a kingdom of ancient Yemen. The inhabitants refer to themselves as the Banu or the children of Again, this is Wikipedia because there are articles which discuss the etchings, the graffiti of names such as is my father and children of as recorded all over this area. So we have Abi El, my father, God. It had been assumed in Hebrew with the vowel in the wrong place, Abi Ma El, God is my father. However, it's not the exact grammar that would be used, and it's ignoring So my ancestors were pointing out the fact that these people were regarding as their father in a way that the Ammonites of Ammon also did. So is the god of Ammon, hence the name. And we have the exact same thing here, Abi El. Now we have many revered lunar gods of Yemen, moon gods of Yemen, in Timna at Kataban, Yerach at Zafar and Himyar, and Obal in Shabwa and Hadramaut, which we're getting to next. Obal, known as Habal, is the moon god, an extremely important moon god, and the center of worship in Shabwa and Hadramaut. So we have three of those cities, and we very often have areas named for tribes, as you would expect, and you realize that that makes sense. Rounding out our 10, we have Shalef, and we see on the left mentioning the Bani Silfan, and they're named not only in relation to Yakëtan, they are named in relation to Himyar by McClintock and Strong, Himyar being to the west, and Khadar Mawet to the east, with helping the people of Khadar Mawet to build a stronghold and a harbor, the ancient Kan'a, which is the other extraordinarily important port where the western trail of trade would go from the port into Yemen proper. Shalef, now we have our 10, and we've gone around the horn and back again, leaving 3 remaining. Ophir is related to the whole phenomenon of Shabbat and looking for things in an area that's not in Yemen when you have everything else remaining in Yemen. This is something people have done for years, of insisting that something is in a place where it is not. And instead of using logic and deductive reasoning to find the location, they're inventing and fabricating reasons to believe that it is in somewhere where there is no logic, and it also is an error. So Ophir, in the top left, Britannica, unidentified region in Old Testament. It was. Find gold. The geographic list of Genesis 10 apparently places it in Arabia. That it does. But at the time of Solomon, Ophir was thought of being overseas. That's an increase in trade. Genesis is from Bronze Age, early Bronze Age. Solomon is Iron Age. There's different technology and different traditions. This is an oral tradition passed down thousands of years. So there's going to be more shipping important to Yemen. That's the change over time. Now on the right, in the top, and on the right, we have found ancient gold mines of Yemen, and the places where Yemen has mining today, they are called Yaf. Yaf is off. Ophir, Ophira. All the name has changed in so many thousands of years as a shift from biblical era Hebrew to modern Arabic. The name is the same and the gold source is there all along. Here we have the penultimate name, and it's fascinating. Yobab, as suggested in McClintock and Strong's Biblical Encyclopedia, as agreed upon by, you have sources they compare Ptolemy, the best source of ancient history, Yobaratai, agreed upon by Bocart. Then we have on the right, interview with Dr. Joris Zarins. Have you been back to Shisor since the time of our filming? And they have found Ubar. As the archaeologist says, Ubar refers to a region, a group of people, not to a specific town. People always overlook that. It's very clear on Ptolemy's 2nd century map of the area. It says in big letters, Yobaritai. Those are the land of Yobar, Ubar, called in the Bible Yobab. The Yobaritai and the Ubarites became romanticized later, but it's a very real place. It's amazing how very real names in the Bible are. You can see them on Google Maps, the lost city of Wubar and the city of Perdita, Ubar. And that is where the Yolbaratai are from. And this was the bastion of the frankincense trade, leaving only one name remaining. It's like looking for hay in a haystack. At the bottom center of the map on the left is a satellite image, and we have the word Yakëtan over Yemen. Khawila means sandy place. There's no arguing with Khawila, but at this point, an argument gets you nowhere. You can't do anything with knowledge unless you do something with the knowledge. I have shared the knowledge with you. This is Yakëtan. But there's so much more. Besides knowing exactly where all of these names are located and what they mean, there's something far more important than mapping regarding Yakëtan and Yemen in history that goes beyond biblical history. You do not have to be Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Druze. You don't have to be related to any of these people. There is a relationship here that goes far beyond the Bible. That's important to everyone. Now, all the people I named, that's billions of people. There's more. There's something about this particularly, above all, that relates to you, no matter where you are from. I'm Daniel Adam Fink. I look forward to explaining the Torah to you.